Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on which part of the world you have joined us today. And as always, I am Priya Patra. I am the Vice President Outreach of the PMI Mumbai chapter. And today we are back again with our closure event of season 3, which is the 10th event of the year and 27th event of the chapter exchange initiative. So I do also have Anisha Ahmed. She is our chapter leader from PMI Bangladesh chapter. Anisha, want to say hi to everyone? Anisha, are you talking on mute?
Uh, Good day, all. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us, and especially from Bangladesh. Thank you so much.
That's not been fair, huh, Anisha? Yes.
But it's a dinner time now there, so they are like giving a Friday night dinner. So you can just think of it like we have a weekend on Friday.
Great. But yes, but I do wholeheartedly welcome everyone from every corner of the world. We do also have Damike, our chapter leader from Sri Lanka chapter. Damike?
Hi everyone, I am Dhammika Mendis, Executive Vice President of PMI Sri Lanka chapter. Warmly welcome you to the event.
And the special guest of the event, our chapter leader from PMI Phoenix chapter, Shane.
Good morning, everybody, from sunny Phoenix.
All right. Do we have Ayanda on the call? But Ayanda is supposed to join us. She is our chapter leader from PMI South Africa chapter. And of course, Anita, our chapter leader from Poland chapter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to PMI Chapter Exchange Season 3 event today. In the event today, we discuss from output to outcome, how project management can make the difference. Today, we have our PMI friends joining us from 23 different PMI chapters from across the globe, from North America, Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Welcome so very much. And please say hello to each other and continue networking in the chat. And also, please take a poll. You can see the code to the menti.com. And please let us know from where you joined us today. Today, we are very excited to announce that we have 1,200 plus registrations from across the globe, from 76 countries, to be precise, from Alaska to New Zealand and all countries and continents in between. So thank you very much, everyone, for this warm response to this initiative. Let us know where you're joining from. The meeting is being recorded. If you're not okay with it in any ways, you may choose not to attend, else you are very welcome to continue. And everyone here in this event are speaking on our individual capacity. Our views do not represent our organization views in any way. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our guest speaker of the day, Michael DeFrisco. As a PMI Chief Operating Officer, Mike provides executive leadership to the Global Operations Group, supporting, and please embrace for these numbers, more than 1 million active certification holders, 650,000 members, and 300 chapters from over 200 countries. Mike is responsible for the product portfolio, lean portfolio and product integration, customer care, and digital groups. Mike's team's focus is on digital product delivery and management, and of course, successful execution of all major initiatives. A little bit of history. So we know that Mike joined PMI in 2013 and has held several roles within the organization, including Vice President, Global Membership and Chapters, and Vice President, Academic and Educational Programs. We also know that prior to PMI, Mike served in executive positions in higher education. There, he executed university strategic plans to ensure integration and alignment of key initiatives and priorities. He provided executive oversight to campus development and growth, including program development, financial management, and stakeholder relationships. He has a bachelor and master degree of science from Westchester University of Pennsylvania and holds a certificate in company direction international from Institute of Directors. Mike is active in youth and educational programs in his community. Thank you very much, Mike, for joining us today.
Oh, Anita, thank you for the lovely introduction. I was blushing as you were reading, so thank you for that. And hello, everyone. It is so great to be here. And I got to tell you, when Priya asked me to speak at what was the biggest last event of the year of season 3, I was really honored and accepted immediately because I had the opportunity to talk to this group. I think it was last year or the year before. Things are moving so fast, and I just really enjoy hearing about all the great work that this group has done. This is truly the representation of innovation and grassroots, and really is at the heart of what the PMI community is all about. So thank you for having me. I was asked to make a few comments, and prepared to do that. In talking to Priya and the team and learning a little bit about the theme of this event today, it really spoke to me in a lot of ways, because obviously my role at PMI really is focused on delivering outcomes. We talk about this every day because outcomes are really the benefit, the value that your stakeholders are receiving from your programs and your initiatives. And I know just getting some background on the work that the Xchange program has done, you've delivered a lot of outcomes for your community over this past year, but over the past 3 years, quite frankly, whether it's building cross-cultural community, whether it's improving your cultural intelligence, whether it's creating frameworks for organizing your global events, spanning across time zones and so forth. I mean, you really have personified the importance of really keeping focus on outcomes, because at the end of the day, that's why we get up in the morning. That's why we go to our jobs. That's why we get involved and volunteer, because outcomes are what drives impact. And PMI for sure is all about making an impact. So really glad to hear that the focus is on outcomes, and again, congratulations on many outcomes that this group has been able to achieve. I also like the idea that the Xchange really cuts across many domains, whether it's healthcare, IT, construction, sustainability. The fact that you're able to have meaningful conversations about some of the most pressing issues that are happening across the globe at this pivotal time in our world is really important and noteworthy. And again, you should be proud of the the work that you're doing. I saw in the chat that there were over 1,200 registrations for this event, 76 countries. God, that competes with PMI's Global Summit that's taking place in Las Vegas. So, wow. You know, some of you should probably join the PMI events team and help us out with some of our global events. But that's really an amazing accomplishment to be able to put together a program that started as an idea to help mitigate some of the devastating impacts of COVID 3 years ago, and to see where it has grown today is truly, truly amazing. And again, congratulations on that. The other piece I just wanted to talk about was to give you some insight into where PMI is going in 2023. And I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. We certainly will be talking more and more about this over the coming weeks and months. But given that I'm in front of all of you, I thought it would be a good opportunity to kind of just provide a little bit of a framework around our approach for 2023. And I think what I will anchor on is PMI's new culture values. For the past year, PMI has endeavored to work with its community of volunteers and chapters and staff and organization decision makers to redefine and reimagine what kind of culture PMI really needs to have to help propel us and accelerate us forward into the future. And we really made a concerted effort to co-create this desired future state culture with our community. And we came up with a tagline that our culture was by PMI for PMI. And we did that intentionally because we wanted to make sure that we were truly inclusive in how we went about having conversations about the type of culture we want to have, understanding where some of the pain points are within the existing culture, both from the perspective of our community and the perspective of those stakeholders that interact with us the most. I think at the end of the day, we managed to engage close to 1,500, 1,700 individuals from across the community that provided meaningful insight and input in helping us define what our future state culture values are going to be. And I can give you a little preview of what those values are, with the understanding that more to come as we move into the new year. But it's very much around focusing on making it easier for individuals to connect with and engage with PMI. You know, we recognize that it's not always easy, depending on where in the world you live. It's not always easy to connect with PMI and to find what you're looking for, or to get the information that you need when you need it. So a big piece of our value is, you know, every day when we wake up, how can we think about our work within the context of making it easy and easier for the people that are seeking out PMI for support, whether that's knowledge, networking, to give back. That's a core value. A second one is around aiming higher. And this really speaks to the idea of ensuring that everything that we do is high quality and really is reflective of the standards of rigor and quality that PMI is known for in the project management community. So whether it's content that we produce, whether it's engagement opportunities that we create for our members like this event, let's make sure that we are truly focused on high quality, high standard types of programs. And the other one that I want to talk about is a value that's really connected to who we are as an organization, and we call it Together We Can, right? And I think one of the great things about PMI is when our collective community of staff and volunteers and organizations come together to network, to connect, to share information, to learn from one another, to socialize. That's when we are at our finest. That's when we are at our best. And that's when we can really accomplish our goals, our objectives, our big ambitions to empower people to make ideas a reality. So a number of our initiatives for 2023 are going to be very much focused and aligned around these new values. And many of them will touch the chapter community because we are really desiring to improve the overall chapter and community experience. And then also there's many that are connected to the work we're doing in youth and social impact, in the offerings that we're making available to the community, and so forth. So there's a lot to come, but hopefully what I was able to do was at least frame for you, what's kind of guiding that direction for 2023. So I'll stop there. Any questions? I don't know if we have time, Priya.
Just looking for questions on the chat. Do we see any questions? Well, I'm not able to see any. But Mike, you really did touch upon and gave us a sneak peek into 2023 PMI values.
That's right.
And we could very well relate to them as
Mhm.
this community that we have created of chapter leaders, the chapter exchange, knowledge networking for value, aiming higher always, and yes, together we can. So
That's right.
obviously that is a very, very energizing year-end message for us, I would say. And hopefully we will catch up again in Vegas.
Yes.
Many of our chapter leaders will be there, Mike, and
Yes.
we'll be there as well.
I'm
And
looking forward to that. And congratulations again on the publication of the new book. That's very exciting. And I wish you lots of luck with that.
yeah, thank you, Mike. And that was the next segment. And you just spilled the beans here. And it was a
Okay.
surprise for all. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
So that was our next segment. And
Okay.
let me introduce everyone to our pet project that we have been working on in the last 1 year. And that is our, the book, which we call as the Xchange Effect. And to talk a little more about this book, I have all the authors as well who are present in this event. And let me introduce again Damike from PMI Sri Lanka chapter. Just say hi, Damike. And
Hi,
we
everyone.
have Arif from PMI Indonesia chapter. I can't see you, Arif. Just say hi. Okay. And we have Rocio de la Cudra from PMI Lima, Peru chapter. Are you saying hi? I'm not able to see all folks. Okay. And then we have Yuda from PMI Puget Sound chapter. Okay.
Everybody.
Hello. Yeah, that is better, Yuda. And Anita from PMI Poland chapter.
Hello.
Hi, Anita. And of course, myself, from PMI Mumbai chapter. So, yes, all my co-authored team here, you have already said hi to everyone. Let us go around the corner, or around the table, not the corner table. And, I would invite you to talk about one special takeaway from this book, which is very close to your heart. So, Anita, you may go first.
Yes, so very close to my heart is the genesis of this initiative, how it was incepted, and the main takeaway is creating global community step by step. And in the book, you can search for the sentence bird by bird, So you will get what I meant by that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I also did like the experience that you shared about conquering the Polish crowns and how the Ricey, was that the Ricey that you referred to in the chapter?
Rysy. It's
Okay.
the highest peak in Poland, the highest peak in Polish crown of the mountains. And yes, I wrote a story also about that experience. Thank you for mentioning about it, Priya.
Okay, and now we'll go on to Rocio. If you're there, Rocio, what is something that one key takeaway in this book that is very close to your heart? If you're on mute, I think you're on mute, Rocio. Why are you chatting? Are you not able to open your mic? I see you're chatting, putting on the chat window. Okay. And Damike, let's move on to you. Damike, what's your insight on this book, from this book?
If you go to the engagement model, you will find the global vision with a local touch and constant communication and driven by data, decided by the heart. So that is my takeaway from this book.
Okay. And of course, Arif, who has kind of got us to the future of the chapter exchange.
Yes,
Arif.
thanks, Priya. And hi, everyone. So we kind of ended the book, the chapter, with a little bit of a challenge to ourselves, the project management community, and it's the challenges about sustainability, right? And it means two things. The first is to ensure that this exchange program continues to be sustainable in a way that it doesn't just exist, but it continues to become stronger over the years. The other part is to participate in working towards the sustainable development goals. So we've done quite well over the past years in creating a virtual cross-country collaboration, and now it's time to take it local, bring more impact to the community around us, leveraging expertise, partnerships, and so on. So although the chapter book ends there, but these efforts are just beginning. So please get involved, continue to be involved with us, and we look forward to have you on board on the next chapter or maybe the next book, right, of our chapter exchange initiative.
So
I
you've
hope you guys
already
enjoyed.
planned the next book, Arif. Okay. So, all right. So that's good. We are always aiming higher. Remember 2023 PMI value. Okay. And for me, it is all those who wander are not lost. So it is not always about the destination. It is also about the journey, about the experience, about the learnings, and in this case, it's about learnings across cultures, continents, and countries, and getting to know so many people from all across the globe. So, yes, if you guys find this interesting, go ahead and look up on Amazon, and Damike will put the link on the chat window for you guys to go and
Don't forget Yuda, our MVP, Priya.
Oh, I forgot Yuda. Yuda, and the last but not the least, Yuda. What's that one thing that is close to your heart?
Well, this is close to my heart. See, look at
Yeah.
it. I hold it very close to my heart. And I just want to let everybody know right now, I'm the only person in the world to be holding this and to be actually having a copy because no one else has it yet, right? All of you here see it the first time of the hard copy here. And what you do see, we talk about the power of exchange in the book. And what you do see here today and month after month is really the realization of the power of exchange. And then you will learn how it came about and what it is. And also, of course, another thing we talked about is the exchange nugget. It is something that a summarized knowledge of what happened today, in a nugget form where you everybody will get it, you have access to it, and then you can actually take this as some of the key learning points, some of the information that you get, and then maybe you can apply it somewhere else. So that's from me.
Yeah, and Yuda is also the designer of this wonderful book cover. Yuda, you want to show again the book cover?
Look at it. And this is the speaking from the person who designed it, this is the most wonderful book cover I've ever seen.
That is good. Okay, so are you guys finding it interesting? And if yes, do you want a copy of this book? Yuda has one in his hand, and if you want a copy of this book, you have a chance now. And I will tell you how. So we have a quiz for you, and if you look in on your screen, that is the link, or you can scan the QR code to take the quiz. And the winner, of course, will get a copy of the book shipped and autographed by Yoda, right? Okay, so if you can take the Menti poll there, and the code is on your screen, enter your full name, very important. Otherwise, we will not be able to find you and you will not get the book. And let's play. So over to you, Anisha, to conduct the quiz. Sunil, you'll have to give Anisha the sharing rights. I will stop sharing.
Another thing, all the chapter exchange people are not qualified for this test, right?
Yeah, we are not.
Okay. So just
Are you able to share your screen, Anisha?
I'm trying. Okay, let's see.
And I have also put the link to join on the chat window while Anisha shares her screen. Yeah, the quiz is not open yet. Anisha is trying to open up the quiz.
I'm
As of now.
trying.
Yes, I will share the link again. Does it work?
Just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. Just coming back.
And while Anisha tries to start the quiz, uh, we we can move on to the next section of the event. And let me introduce our spotlight chapter of the month. And for that, I will hand over the event to Damike.
Yeah, thanks, Priya. So our spotlight chapter for the event today is PMI Phoenix chapter. So we have our chapter president from the PMI Phoenix chapter, Shane. So let me introduce Shane. He is the president of PMI Phoenix chapter, experienced senior project manager with a demonstrated history of working in the information technology and services industry. Skilled in operations management, documentation, IT strategy, agile, and team building. Strong program and project management professional. So before I hand the session over to Shane, I want to ask you two questions. What is the time they are now at your side and the date? And what does the logo of your chapter signify? Over to you, Shane.
Thank you, Namidi. So good morning, everybody. It is currently 7:29 a.m. in Phoenix, Arizona, and the sun is just starting to come up. So we're just getting started with our day here. The PMI Phoenix chapter logo represents the state of Arizona, and our place within the state as the Phoenix chapter is represented by the star. But the Phoenix chapter covers a large area of Arizona. There's two chapters in the state of Arizona. Tucson is the chapter in the lower corner and is blue, and orange represents the PMI Phoenix chapter. We were founded in 1978. We have 2,127 members. Our board is made up of 11 members. We have 85 volunteers, and we serve 90 million square miles of the state. I'll tell you a little bit about our board. Our board is a very diverse group, something that we're particularly proud of. We have a very active board made up of 11 members. We just met to plan out our annual strategy for next year, and we're looking forward to having a normal year in 2023. One of the things we're most proud of in our chapter is our study group, which consistently attracts new members to the chapter. We do this free to all the members that wish to study for the PMP, and we facilitate that group several times throughout the year. We also have a very strong mentorship program where we pair upcoming PMs with senior PMs, and we conduct mentoring throughout the year. We're growing that program. We just started it this year. We also support the community through a number of ways. We just recently completed support for the science fair, which is a 4-year STEM program for the students in high school. We also work with Future Cities, and the great thing about Future Cities is we also do a project plan award at the end of that to the team with the best project plan. But the project plan award is based on project goals, project schedules, project status check-ins, and completing a project reflection. Each team has project management skills that we help guide them through during that competition. We also work with high school age kids doing project management introduction classes in the high schools. We've been doing that remotely over the pandemic. And then we also partner with our local state university and other organizations to put on a one-day event for project management related topics. And that was a great event that just finished up in September. And we also do a lot of social good. We had a Ukrainian humanitarian project that we raised funds for earlier this year. We also work with local food pantries to help distribute food and gather food and pack food. We do that several times a year as well. We also this year did a warm coat project, gathering coats for needy people through the winter. And that's a little bit about the chapter. If you're ever in Phoenix, Arizona, please look us up. We have events every month. And we also have a lot of virtual events online, including participating with the Chapter Exchange, which is a proud partner. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. And with this, we will move on to the next section of the event. And I would need sharing rights again to share my screen, if that is possible, Sunil. Okay, so while I get my sharing rights, I would request Damike to introduce the moderator of the day today, and we will continue with our panel discussion from output to outcome. Can project management make a difference?
Okay, thank you, Priya. So let me introduce you to our session moderator, Yuda. So if I say a bit about Yuda, now you already know that he is our session moderator, and he's a delivery lead and an enterprise agile coach at Realtor.com. And he was a senior program manager at Sinclair Broadcast Group, an agile coach, trainer, and practitioner. He holds currently certification as a project management and agile certifications. So he has hundreds of Scrum Masters. He has certified hundreds of Scrum Masters from all over the world. And he is the author of Building Agile Team, One Parafable at a Time, Enable Words and Agile Adoption 101. Right? So he co-authored this with his students in NEU. So his books are available at Amazon.com. So the book we launched today is the newest addition to his collection. So outside of the full-time work, Yuda is an adjunct faculty Northeastern University, Seattle. So he's teaching predictive project management courses as well as some advanced agile courses. A member of Agile and DevOps coaching and training organization, IBC Consultants. He also enjoys photography, traveling, hiking, and standing rock or cliff edges, pretending to look pensive. So, Yuda, it's over to you to introduce the speakers and take the moderation forward.
Right. Thank you. It is always weird to have someone, talk about you. And I think, Mike mentioned the same thing, and I felt the same way. Uh, yeah. So those are all the things like to make what I do sound good, but it is, just like another day in the life of a project management. So welcome everybody. Welcome to this discussion today. So you have already heard a lot about me. So why don't we put the spotlight to another person, and let's introduce Joe Puch from North America, chap. And Joe, why don't you introduce yourself instead of me reading it about you?
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. As with Shane, I'm out in Phoenix, Arizona, so it's early in the morning here, 7:36. Good afternoon and good evening to wherever you're located as well. I'm the president of the PMO squad. Some people may know me as PMO Joe. I'm the host of Project Management Office Hours podcast. Also within the community, PMI member, volunteer, sponsor, presenter, speaker. Also within the community, a member of the PMO Global Alliance and founder of the PMO Leader Global Community. So just very honored to be here today with a great panel and look forward to hearing everybody's contributions.
All right. Thank you very much, PMO Joe. How about Fernando? Go ahead, Fernando.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks, Yuda, for calling me second before I had time to open my own resume to talk about it. So I'm going to be very, very quick because I'm also embarrassed by reading everything we have done. So I would summarize saying that I'm a volunteer for PMI. That's what I've been doing for a long time. I'm project manager, PMP. I am doing now a master's program on um, cultural programs, so and creativity and creative industries, and I'm passionate about this discussion of how to be or how to find creative solutions to things that are sometimes understood as obvious and straightforward line to an answer. So this panel is going to be great about that because I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting conversation with some maybe polemics. Let's see how it goes. Thanks, Yuda.
All right. Thank you very much. And Janani.
Oh, hi everyone. So, first of all, welcome all of you from whoever are joining with us from around the world. And also, congratulations to all the panel members and chapter leads for amazing achievements that you have made in 2023. It's indeed a moment to celebrate. So, I am Janani Lianage from Sri Lanka. By passion and by profession, I'm an agile leadership coach. I help individuals to see the leader in them and teams to create their own high performance. So that's about myself. I'm really looking forward to this panel discussion.
All right. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Rebecca.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm joining you from Accra, Ghana, where I work in the social space. I have been in the not-for-profit space for the past 10 years, focusing on large-scale social impact change projects. I am a policy advocate. I'm a lawyer by profession. I am a PMP and a volunteer with PMI. And I call myself an Afro-optimist because I believe that Africa can do great things. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here.
And although I did say that Teko is last but not least, we also have Vikram. And Vikram is a global HR portfolio leader from Amsterdam. He will be joining us a little bit shortly. Unless Vikram, are you here yet? Because being an HR, there is always something very, very important he needs to take care of. So, but when Vikram show up, we'll let him talk about himself for a little bit to embarrass him. Huh? All right, so let's get this started. And today, as all of you are aware, we are here to talk about output and outcome. So, and this is, I think, for many people who are here, this is a very important, a topic that is dear to the heart. It's going to be very, very contentious discussion sometime, and I think it's going to be very interesting. But, before we get started, what are the differences between output and outcome anyway? So, any one of the panelists would like to take a crack at this one? Go ahead. Anyone would like to start?
I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Mm.
good. So my view of it and what I have read about it is that the outcome is the result or the benefit you're trying to reach, and the output is the way through which you're going to get to that result. So you have a goal, or you have set something that you need to achieve with your project, and then you have deliverables or other things through which you're going to reach that result. So outcomes are connected to business strategy and objectives, and outputs are more connected to how you get to them. So I would put it like that, I think, from my understanding.
All right, thank you.
I would,
Go ahead.
yeah, let me take it forward and to say that outcomes are the higher level results that you get from implementing an activity, and output would be a lower level result. In various times, you see that people use different terminologies. They could use results, they could use objectives, they could use, if you look at the African Union Agenda 2060, 3 goals, they actually use aspirations, goals, priorities. There are different terminologies that can be used, but the most important thing is that I think outcome is a higher level result, and output is actually a lower level result, resulting from the immediate work that you do when you actually do an activity. And so if you look at it as a pyramid of results, moving higher and having different levels of impact, then outcomes would be at a higher level than output. But you can call it different names, and different organizations would use different terminologies for that. Over to you, Yuda.
Oh, wow, this is interesting. Yeah. But I'd like to just continue what you just said by calling a different name. I think our buddy Bill Shakespeare, William Shakespeare said it best, right? What is in a name that we call it any other name, it will still smell as sweet, right? So at least that's where we're going. But does it really make a difference? Is there a difference? Because you call it like there's a higher level output and higher level result and lower level result, and I really like it. I think that is very interesting instead of the delineation about this one. But at least that's what I've been thinking about it. Anyone else would like to chime in about this topic for now?
Yeah, I think from perspective of the output is the final destination, but you have to, or outcome is, but you have to have outputs throughout the life of the project. You can't get to your outcome if you don't have outputs. So an output is still important, even though it may not be where you're finally looking to achieve. And an output usually is generated by the team members within the project, whereas the outcome is the collective achievement of all of the work of the project itself. So different varying degrees of importance, different varying degrees of accomplishment by individuals or teams, but also when they occur, outputs during the project, outcome at the result of the project or out at the conclusion.
Very nice. Thank you. And Janani, you were going to say something.
Yes, I'm very much aligned with Joe. So if I talk about the output, output is the hundreds of people, participants joining to this panel discussion, which is exciting. Yay. And same time, the outcome is the learning and the experience and memories we create out of this panel discussion. So that's output and outcome for me.
Oh wow, that is very nice to put it in this context that everyone can immediately say, oh yeah, that is very clear, right? And I'm so glad that we mentioned about the final destination and that this is a different degree of importance, right? So this is not one or the other, it's actually one and another, right? It is a continuum. It's not just that you only do one thing and not the other. So thank you for pointing that out. So this is very awesome. Now, all of us are in project management and in one way or another. So our outputs aligned to project management and is outcome aligned to project delivery. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think historically, right, we're all project managers, right? That's what we are. It's our profession. And we have been managing projects and we've been measuring outputs quite well for 50 plus years, right, as a modern profession. But what we haven't done real well is measure the output or the outcome or the result. And I think the mindset of management versus delivery is a delineation of what we're trying to do. We try to deliver a result while we're managing a project, right? And the mindset of delivery, I think, is a transition or a transformational change our industry is going through. When we look at the last PMBOK as an example, we moved from process groups into principles. And the principles are geared towards delivery, right? Geared towards getting an outcome as opposed to a process of how do we do the work, right? To me, project management is how we do it, how we organize, how we structure, how we use the team. But then we move in the direction of delivery. Let me give an example outside of project management. We, I love food. I love pizza, right? When I go to a restaurant, I make an order for what food I want to be delivered. My expectation is in the kitchen, they're going through all the processes they need to produce my order. I, as the customer of that food, of that restaurant, I don't care what process they follow. My expectation is they're going to do it well. And then the food is delivered to me. If that food isn't what I ordered or it doesn't taste good, it doesn't matter what process they followed. Right? So I have to make sure as the owner of that restaurant that I'm delivering what the customer ordered and to ensure that it meets their expectations. Our mindset historically, I think, has been about the kitchen. It's been about what process do I follow to make the food. And I think now we're starting as an industry to transition and transform into the restaurant owner who comes and greets you after the food is delivered and asks you, did your food taste good? And I think that's the difference between project management and project delivery.
Wow, very interesting. Now, would it be fair to say that we used to be thinking about what we want to do to people, and now we are thinking about what we're putting the customer first instead of now what the customers is needing from us, and then we do it instead of, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's ultimately we're doing the projects for somebody or some group within the business.
Mm-hmm.
We should ask them, are we delivering what you like? Did your project taste good? Right? I mean, that should be a question we ask constantly throughout the project. And we have historically, I think, come up a little bit short on doing that.
Yeah, tasty project. So that's very nice. Anyone else would like to chime in about this topic?
Yeah, let me just say that for social development projects, the outcome has always been an important part, but the outs as important as the output, but for us, it has always been a focus on the outcome. So if you want girls to go to school, it's not just because you want the girls to go to school, but it's because then they have higher literacy rates, they can get good jobs after they have finished school, they can take care of their children, and they have a better, life skill, And so that level of outcome has always been important for social development projects. And you notice that projects that had not focused on outcomes, but are focused on outputs never got anywhere. You know, you finish a 5-year project and you go back 3 years, 3 months later, and everything is back to normal. And I think the key thing, as Joe said, is moving to that level. But how do you make sure that you're actually getting to that level? And that is where I think the discussions around indicators, around assumptions, and what you do with strategy comes in. That is not just a simple linear jump from outputs to outcomes, but that you need to put in the work at the foundational level, identifying the assumptions for which you're starting a project, looking at the indicators of change and how you monitor those so that you are able to get an outcome that is sustainable in the long term. Thank you. And over to you, Yuda.
Oh, thank you very much. So there's a lot to unpack. But now, if you're thinking about it, right, as again, as a change maker professional in project management, how do we then prepare ourselves to face these changes of now, putting the outcome in the foremost instead of just us that we just used to be thinking about, okay, if I got all my Gantt chart is done, then this is done. If I get all my Jira ticket is done, then my work is done, right? It is now beyond that. But how do we as the project management professional prepare ourselves to face this shift? Fernando, what do you think?
Sure. I'm going to, take advantage of the fact that I'm apparently in the same room as Joe. We're using the same background here. Just to mention the idea of the Tasty project, I think the move, there was a long time that we as project managers were focusing, like it's been said here more than by one of us, in how to get things done, right? So the processes, the tools, and all that, following the budget and everything. And this is all good and important, of course, because it doesn't mean anything if I can make tasty pizza, but my business is going to, be broke and closed next month. So of course we need that, and the process is important, and being, productive and all that. But in the end of the day, in this example of the kitchen, it's easier to see that everybody is connected to the purpose of the existence of the business, because everybody is there for food. But in bigger organization, and this is more and more common, we have lots of people with different background and different way of thinking, and this is great as well, diversity. But it's easier for people to get away and to stop understanding the strategy of the business. So if you're going to focus on the result, on the objective, on getting your client happy, you have to be closer to the strategy and understanding how the business works and what the business wants. So I would say that the move that we as project managers and change makers as a whole have to make is from only focusing on how and start focusing more on the why. So what do we need to achieve? Where do we go? Why does this business exist? So this can work with social projects as well, as Rebecca. I'm sorry, Rebecca, I don't know if you prefer to be called by Rebecca or Teiko, but it's the same idea. And I think this is the first step to try to understand and be more represented in what the business does and where we want to go in the future.
Thank you very much. This is very good point. Moving from just thinking about the how and more towards the why. And as you mentioned about that, it reminded me of a really good book by Simon Sinek. Right, start with why. Everything that we do is start with why we are doing it, the reasoning. So thank you very much. And Rebecca, what do you think about what Fernando was just talking about?
Yes, I totally agree, especially when you get into larger business spaces where it's not just a pizza, factory, but it's a whole Disney World, and it's bigger than, it's not bigger, but what we are all doing the same thing. Let's look at it from the example of the Sustainable Development Goals, where the entire world is working towards 17 goals, all focused on sustainability. And the issue is that as a project manager, moving from output to outcome, how do you make that work? Okay, so in that space, you ensure that we are all going towards the same vision. And the vision is out there. This is what we want to achieve. And then you work, toward backwards so that you understand what is an outcome, what is an output. If you take SDG Goal 5, which is focused on gender empowerment, and you look at the targets under that, the targets will then become the outcomes, the things that we need to get in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, in the next 30 years to be able to help us to achieve that. Everybody has a role to play, but the project manager sitting in the United Nations or wherever it is, you need to find a way to ensure that these things are working. Now, the key issue is that outputs are within your control, but outcomes, are not. But you need to have the outcomes to be able to get a project that is sustainable. And therefore, for me, it's about sharing the vision, very important at the very initial stages, looking at the people that you need to succeed with and working with them, communicating, letting them know what you have to do, and your strategies and indicators. What strategies would you use to take a girl to school in the most deprived areas in the world? What strategies would you use so that girls who are in school in development spaces are able to move forward? Now, these things are important to be able to move from the output level to the outcome level. So regardless of whether you are just looking at a pizza fact shop or the Sustainable Development Goals, there are some principles, as Joe said, that helps you to move and ensure that you're actually getting to your targets.
Thank you very much. There's an infinitely good comment here from Harinder Singh that outcome are the measurable key result, because everybody nowadays OKR, right? Everybody is thinking about OKR. All the organization wants to do OKR because it helped large company like Google to be super successful. So is OKR and KPI our objective, and then output is the thing that we do, or the other way around? How is the relationship between OKR and our output and outcome? Is that the direction we're going? Anyone want to try to take a crack at this one? Right? How is outcome and output related to our OKR and KPI? That's a very tough question too, by the way. I just came up with it with the help of Harinder. Right?
Well, I can talk about indicators, as you know, OKRs and KPIs. Once again, they're just terminologies, and I think we can move away from terminologies to actually looking at what does it mean to measure things at very different levels of change. And therefore, for me, at the lower level of result, which is the output result, at the output level, the sort of indicators that you use are things that you have control over and that you can easily count, look at, feel, measure, that sort of thing. But then when you move up to the higher level result, which is the outcome level result, then these can be indicators that are objectively verifiable from different sources. And the more objectively verifiable they are, of course, which then becomes outside your space, and they corroborate the outcomes that you have, then you are on the right path. So once again, from a social development policy program manager space, this would be what I'll talk about. I'm sure for the business program and projects managers, they might be different. But for us, at an outcome level, it moves beyond you, and then it goes into the space. So once again, you're looking at girl child education. What does the Ministry of Health say? What does the Ministry of Agriculture or the Ministry of Education saying about the number of girls that are actually finishing 6 years in basic school? What is happening with the number of girls who are getting pregnant or not? And those ones would be at the level of the outcome and not at the level of the outputs. Thank you. And over to you once again, Yuda.
Thank you. So we talk about this very important outcome, but it sounds a little bit nebulous. So how do we measure outcome? Because I mean, output is nice again, right? That there's things that you can see. You can see the dates that are finished, the tickets that are done. But how do you measure outcome? And any suggestion, any ideas?
Yeah, I can jump in on this one. And, the other part of us, right, we're as project managers, we're put into a separate category within organizations than operations. Operations side of the business has already figured this out. They do it as part of their daily operations, their quarterly operations, right? Public companies report results on an ongoing basis every quarter and every year for how the company is performing. But we on the project side haven't followed suit. We haven't learned lessons from our operations brothers and sisters within our organizations. And I think this is the opportunity we have to be able to actually become part of operations. Let the organization absorb the project management function as part of what we standard do, right? Our standard operating procedures in the company is we execute projects as well. And by doing that, we can then bake in those key results, those outcomes, into the timing of the organization, into the expectation of the employees, into the strategy, into the market forces that are influencing company decisions. But when we isolate ourselves out as a non-operating part of the company, it makes it harder for us to be accepted, right? So the standard processes that the organization follows, now they look at us and say, you're different than us. We don't understand how you operate. We don't understand your language. We don't understand your metrics. I think if we evolve and move towards part of operations and get into their flow, I think that allows us to set up those metrics and results that can be standard and understood by everybody in the company.
Wow. So this is very interesting because as you were talking about how as project management we need to de-silo ourselves and move towards more of the operation mindset and I kept thinking because I spend more of my time in software development and we always talk about DevOps, right? I think we have just or you, Joe, have just talked about the importance of us in project management also to get to the DevOps mindset, right? And by the way, as a context for people, DevOps is the combination word between development and organization. And traditionally, development is siloed with operation. And we realize that, hey, to make the software things that we are working, that we do quite well, development actually have to work closely together with operation. Because you no longer just throw things across the wall and say, hey, I down with the software, you operation people, you take care about it, right? Because now it looks like when we're talking about output and outcome, development is in the past always think about more about doing the output, and now working together with operation, we get the outcome. So DevOps for project management. See, very nice. Thank you very much. Any other comment from another panelist?
Hey, Yuda, this is Vikram.
Hey, Vikram, how are you?
Yes, doing well.
Welcome.
I was
Yeah.
able to join a bit late, but yes, I'm there. So if I see from that angle, I can suggest like the three things which I normally try to do because these outcomes, if you see, is also related to your strategy, right? And at the same time, they are related to outputs, right? So we need to ensure and define what exactly the smart outcome we can define as much as possible, one upward side and then the downward side, right? Then we need to ensure that once we link it, we make it quantifiable, right? We ensure that it's quantifiable. We link it to our strategy and the outputs, and then we set up governance to measure it, right? So that's what I see works practically, in the real life.
Okay. Well, since you're talking about this, then how can you then improve the outcome of the project, Vikram?
Yeah, I think the outcome of the project, or let's say the improving the delivery of the whole success of the projects, right? And for me, I'm a bit from that matter, a bit old school, and I still feel planning is 80%, right? Planning is 80% of the project delivery or the success, right? So we need to ensure we have detailed planning. The second thing, and when I say detailed planning, also about resource management, including, right? are we set up for success, right? That's another part. The second thing which I feel is the right level of engagement of all the stakeholders, right? And you know, when I say stakeholders, I mean including customers and also the team members, right? That's for me the second one. And the third biggest thing what I see is a risk management, right? So how are we managing our risk? How proactive are we? Are we able to mitigate them? So that's me the third point. So planning, stakeholder management, proper stakeholder management, and the risk management proper one. Then I'm sure our outcome will be more enhanced and improved.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the panel
Thank
have
you.
anything to
Yes.
add? Yeah, go ahead.
Let me add to the DevOps concept and link up to what Vikram also said, that I think, as you know, projects should definitely have a beginning and the end. And if you do a project, you definitely have to link it to the business strategy. Otherwise, you are just a bubble and it will burst and that will be the end of it. And therefore ensuring that when you are planning or when you are doing your consultations or you're setting up for success, you know that the project will end and whatever outputs that you have from the project should then be used within the business in which you were in to get outcomes. Otherwise, we are just blowing hot air. And so I love this DevOps concept, and it's about, you know, beginning with the end in mind. Beginning with the end in mind, knowing that there is a gap within your business, there's a gap within the space that you work, and the project is to develop a product or to do something that would make your business better. Otherwise, you know, we are just we're running hoops in the air. And so I believe that that is one thing that will make our programs or projects better, because we are actually there's a problem and we are solving a problem, and that will move our organizations from the level at which they are to a higher and obviously better level. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
let me give an example of that. So my consulting firm, my PMO squad, we're working with a client, helping them implement a new CRM system. And we asked the project team, why are we doing this project? And the collective answer from the project team was to upgrade the technology to a modern solution. We then went and asked the executive team the same question, why are you doing this project? And they said, to allow us to have capability to enter a new geography, which will enable us to get 20% increase in sales. We as project teams historically have been struggling to understand why we're actually doing projects. Therefore, we're focused on producing outputs, status reports and Gantt charts and other documents that are important to us, but the organization wants to go into a new geography and win 20% increase in revenue. We have to change our mindset as project managers. Obviously we always say we want to align the strategy. We want to make sure we're doing strategic projects. We want to be important. We want to validate our role within the organization. But if our project team that we're working and we're leading doesn't align with what the executives and the organizations, the reason why they approved that project, it doesn't matter what our outputs or outcomes are, because our expectations are misaligned from the very beginning of the project. And I think this discussion of outputs and outcomes, part of it has to include the mindset of what is the role of the project team to produce those outputs and outcomes within the context of how projects have worked historically and how we've delivered those as an industry, right? Because the results we've had over time just haven't lived up to expectations.
So you brought up something really interesting, because now does this change our paradigm as project manager? Because all of us who have read the PMBOK or taken the PMP exam, right? We do know that the foundation, one of the important definition of a project is that it ends, right? Because we start with initiation all the way to ending. But if we are talking about concentrating all the way to looking at the outcome instead of just the output that we can immediately see, now we are moving beyond just creating, but we are moving also towards operations. So does that change the paradigm of what we do as what we know as project management?
Can I get this one?
Yes, please.
This is very interesting. I was thinking, listening to you all. I think I didn't mention, but I'm from Brazil. So some time ago, I was working as the manager of PMO, and I got a challenge to define the way that we were going to do project management and how, sorry, all the project managers were going to report, and I was focused on outputs. So the whole thing was how to produce things so that we could reach a goal, which was to have better information, to have people actually giving the information they had, and how to share that and get it closer to the strategy. But there is something that sometimes we do. And I learned that the tough way. This has been a long time, but anyway, sometimes we are so focused on how good we are with things, and we are good. Project managers are good. We study for that. We get prepared for that. We know how to do those things, so we can prepare very good reports, and and analyze scope and try to work with risks, and we do that, and we are prepared to do that. But sometimes that can turn into a little, how can I put that, arrogance, so that we think that since I have studied for that and I know all the models, I know exactly what model is going to work in that situation. So I produced a lot of different templates, and they were really cool, but they didn't work because nobody could work with them, and the information didn't come because they were too complex. So sometimes this is a problem. To understand the outcomes, we have to talk to people. It's not sufficient to just have the answer, understand the product, and get it done, because that is your solution. And this is not enough for a business. So the projects were created in the first place to achieve the strategy. If you don't understand the strategy or you don't talk about the strategy, you're going to produce outputs, and they can be very good, but they are not going to produce necessarily, unless you're very lucky, and then I want you to inform me the lottery numbers, that you're going to reach the outcome, because this is random, completely random. So it's like producing the pizza and not asking the client if the pizza was good. And well, it was good for me, but I am not paying for the pizza. I have the business, so the other people have to buy my product. So I think sometimes this is the problem. And again, working with that idea that we formed silos where we work and we don't interact with other parts of the organization, be it whatever it is. I work in government now. It's the same thing. If we don't talk, we're going to produce outputs that attend to our needs, but not necessarily attend to the business need, and then it's not going to produce the right outcomes. So I would just like to add that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. Now, let me, any other comment before I
Yeah.
to Danny? Go ahead, Danny.
I was listening to all the amazing insights by the panelists. So, if I'm to add on this journey from output to outcome, about 11 or 12 years ago, when I was preparing myself to become a project manager, and I was doing the PMI, PMP exam, my biggest challenge was to remember all the formulas in the PMP exam. Right, that was my biggest challenge those days. But I think in my journey from the project manager to enterprise agile coach and leadership coaching, in the focus of outputs to outcome, my formula was like three things. That is, you have to be radically honest, because you should be ready to take the elephant in the room, because your outputs can be really nice on the surface, whereas outcomes not as same. So you should be ready to accept it, acknowledge the outcomes. And second is, you should have a lot of courage, because when you see the outcomes are not really going to the direction that we were looking for, so you need to pivot. It needs a lot of courage. And the third is that you need to have a clear sense of prioritization. That is really important, because if you don't have that sense of priority, it could be really challenging even to pivot. So one example is, right, SpaceX, I would say. So SpaceX have a clear vision that to make humanity multiplanetary. And as part of their mission, they build reusable, cost-effective starships, right? So see, they can wait for 40 years, 30 years, 50 years by talking about it and making some outputs. But rather than that, they really do it, right? Starting from Falcon to the Dragon to the Starship, Starlink to they really do it and get feedback. And it has to have been radically honest to get the real feedback, to courage to pivot, and have a clear sense of prioritization. So I feel those are really important in the journey to go from outputs to outcomes.
Thank you. And since I have you here, Janani, I have another question. So, now that we project managers, we know that the importance, but now talk about from the point of view of the leadership. So what is then the role of leaders to improve outcomes of the team and the project that they're working on?
Exactly. I think it's very important too, like leaders set the example. We always talk about it, right? So setting the culture ready to focus on outcomes is something a huge role leaders can play. Because usually the company culture is set defined by certain values, principles, and we in many companies we see very nice values like we have respect, integrity, collaboration, persuasion, creativity. Those are nicely hanged on the walls. Whenever we go to the boardroom, we see they are nicely hanged on the walls. But I think it is the role of leadership to give life to them. So not that they're hanged on the walls, but come down, stand up with the people. It can be simple changes. You don't have to think about this like a huge transformation, because the word transformation usually excites coaches, but not as same for the people. It's not that it's a huge thing that you have to do. Any transformation, any change to work, it has to come to business as usual to be sustainable, right? You can talk about nice strategies, but they have to trickle down to the business as usual. So simple thing like respect, right? So a leader can respect by coming on time to a meeting and show the respect to the members, people who are waiting for him, right? Simple things we can show the values, right? The outcomes and outputs both, right? So setting that example starts with you, and you need to project those values which you really care of, like respect, right? Collaboration, like when you're doing an estimation, right? So output would be all the tasks are estimated, right? All the tasks could be estimated nicely and put it in the Gantt chart or the project plan. But does your team member or the individual had the safety in the room to challenge that, right? So have you given opportunity to challenge that estimate is an outcome that you give. So simple things, it's not to think about a whole company transformation. You can start it immediately from tomorrow, giving that respect, giving that participatory decision making towards outcomes.
Thank you very much. And before I move on to the next question, I just want to add on to what you just said, because I think you pointed something very fascinating. Most people think about change and transformation is something really large, right? And you mentioned that change, for it to be sustainable and to be working, it has to be just something small as like people will feel like this is a business as usual. As you're talking about it, it reminded me of a story of a guy named Paul O'Neill when he took over Alcoa a long time ago, and he was also one of the U.S. minister. But at the time when he took over Alcoa, a steel company, he just said, "I just want people to concentrate on safety." And that's it, right? And people are like, that's it. This is your big idea. Just do one small thing, and then it turned out that you have to do many other things. You have to change a lot of many small things to achieve this safety, right? So if any of you are interested in this story, I believe I read it in a book called Smarter, Faster, Better by Charles Duhigg. So if you're interested, but anyway, I digress here. Now I want to throw this one because you mentioned culture and we talk about culture change. So let me throw this to Joe, right? So how does organizational culture play into the output versus outcome? Like, example from other department.
I think that we should learn from other departments within our organization because some of them perform better than we do, right? I mean, that's okay to acknowledge that. And that's why we do lessons learned and debriefs to try to improve. An example might be the sales department, right? In the sales department, it's a very clear outcome. Did you sign the deal, right? Did we get additional revenue? Organization culture has accepted that we never really asked the salesperson, did you update the CRM system? And we're very okay that you signed $1 million deal. And then we send you on a trip to some beautiful location to reward you. In project management, we ask the question, did you do all your deliverables because you can't pass this gate review unless you have? And we don't worry about the outcome, and we don't get sent to any fancy places anywhere in the world. I want to go on those vacations. I want to be rewarded for the work we're doing, and we have to have this mindset shift. Is it important to update the CRM system? Yes. Is it as important as closing the deal and getting the customer to sign the deal? No. So for us in project management, it's still important to go through our process and have our repeatable work that we can consistently deliver projects on and set expectations for team members. That's very important. But if it's not as important as the outcome, then projects will always be viewed in the organization as someone that's more concerned with process than they are results. And organizations are result-based entities, right? They're there to produce something. That's the whole goal of an organization, whether it's a service, a good, or a charitable act that they're doing. And if we're worried about the process and not that output, then we're not fitting into the culture of the organization. So that's at a very high level part of it. But I'll also go back and tie into the last comment and say, Project Aristotle, right, was done by Google to go through and talk about teams and how teams work well. And safety was the number one thing that they identified, right? Having that ability to feel safe in my team environment, to comment on what I'm experiencing and feeling is very important. So I certainly applaud Janani's comments about that and how safety is so important as part of the culture as well.
Thank you very much. Now, any other panelists would like to chime in on this one before I move into the next topic?
Yeah. If I can add a very quick, it's also the element of trust, right? Very parallel what Janani and Joe just mentioned, right? The safety, along with safety, if the organization allows the trust to float within the team, a lot of things will automatically happen, right? From output to outcome, how we will reach, nobody will even figure it out, right? How it happened, because each people trust, and that enables it to ensure that, okay, to asking the right questions at the right time, why we are doing this, where it's connection, and then it can bring literally the success which we are looking for. So that's something in my experience, I feel that's a very important one.
Let me just add you that before you move on to the next question, that in many cases as project managers, we box culture, organizational culture, into the assumptions section of our project charts, and we leave it there. We do not address it. We do not come up with a strategy to ensure that we work with it. It becomes a risk or an assumption that we put aside while we are implementing our core work. But you know that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And so if we do not address the issue of culture and how to ensure that we are changing culture, you're doing it in such a way that the culture agrees with the output, you get outcomes. Otherwise, you stay at the output level and your assumption will not allow you to get to your outcome, because you need to address your assumptions and your risk before you can move from your outputs through your assumptions and addressing them to the outcome. Just to add that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. And again, right, we are improving this new culture, and we again, as you mentioned earlier, we have to start doing it in such a way that people feel like this is a very natural way to happen. Now, we've been talking, for quite a while about this output and outcome. So this is one really, really simple question, but a lot of people have been asking it, and it seems to sometimes trips people out. So what is more important, output or outcome? Anyone would like to take a crack at this, a double-edged sword?
I can try. Let's see.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't. Go
go
ahead.
ahead, Rebecca.
Okay, this is Teiko. Yes.
Oh.
So my first answer to that is, what do you want to achieve? Okay. You want to do an output project and that's it, or you really want a change, a transformational change, as Janani was saying, transformational change to happen. And though it depends on the objectives that you have, but of course, everybody do not just want a project for the sake of doing a project, because you want something to change. And so for me, outcome would be the most important, but more important is the impact. And so moving from the outcome level to even a more higher level of result, which is the impact, which is what happens after what you have done has achieved something, which then will achieve something else. And that is where we get to look into sustainability. How do you ensure that the projects that you have done, the output of that, which that becomes outcomes, then becomes sustainable? And then when you leave an organization or a business unit, 5, 10 years time, you come back and you realize that something that you had done, or something that a project that you have worked on, continues to exist. Of course, it will change, but the form will still be there. The structure will change, but the form will still be there. So for me, output, outcome, but impact is what we should be focusing on. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. That is a very nice third dimension. The things that we should probably change this topic to output, outcome to impact. Very nice. Thank you very much. And Fernando, you're going to say something earlier.
Well, what can I say now after Teiko said that? Just agree. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it is a process of understanding each part of the whole. So you have the hows and the processes and you know the means. You have the objective, you have the goal, you have the benefits, whatever, and you have the long term or broader understanding of this as impact, like Teiko said. So I have nothing else to add, but just clap. Thank you so much for teaching us a little bit. That was great.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, as we were just probably before we were talking about it, you know, someone else, Saman, from one of our audience, Saman Wimaladasa, actually also, you know, mentioning exactly the same thing as you mentioned, Rebecca, that, you know, in the terms of benefit realization, right, the project should create value beyond just the outcome, but for the impact. See, so it really resonates with our audience here. So thank you very much for bringing it up, and thank you, Saman, for pointing it out. Anyone else would like to chime in? Maybe Janani, you have a additional comment?
Yes, I'm quite aligned with both the answers. So for me also, the output and outcome both are important, but intent is first. Why are you doing all these things is important. Now, for example, in a project manager or leaders will measure the number of hours reported by the developers or the engineers, right? Which is pretty much like an output, first of all. And then why would you measure that? If it is only with an intent to see whether they were 100% utilized and they were being really busy in all the work. So if you focus on that, you will only get busy bunch of people, right? Bunch of busy people only you are getting. But if you focus on looking at those tasks to understand where they were struggling, where were the blockers, where were the bottlenecks, why they were waiting from one task to the other, then the output is important. You have to measure that and you have to look at that, because then you are trying to improve it. That is the outcomes you are trying to improve it, right? So intent, why you are doing that is important. As long as you're doing with the right intent, I think the outputs and outcomes both important because they are interlinked actually.
So if I have to say, right, it is really not just, again, one or the other, not just whether output is the most important or outcome, but it depending on many things. And this is something that, by the way, for the audience, you know, the panelists and we chit-chatted a little bit. And this is something that Joe and I would like to admit that Joe and I are on a different camp, right? You know, project managers, right? And Joe is PM also. He look at things at a much higher level. as the project manager, we always ask people to do the report, right? We also make sure that, the tickets are closed at the right time. We need to make sure that, hey, if you need to go to the next space gate, right, it go there. And then, they become like a camp between an output camp and an outcome camp, right? So now that we clarify it, that this is, hey, this is not one or the other. So thinking about this, right? And again, how we measure success then right, in project management. Should we then change how we measure success? Does this relate to, how we focus on outcome versus output? What do you think, Joe?
Absolutely. I do think we should. Not using my words, but I had Dr. Harold Kersner on my radio show a couple of years ago, and I asked him this question: how do you measure success on a project? And he said it's not time, scope, and cost. It's simply business value. Did your project create the value that it was supposed to for the business? That's how we should measure success. That's the restaurateur coming out to ask the guest, was my pizza tasty? Did it taste good? Did it create the value it was supposed to? It doesn't mean that you don't measure those other things, because if you're behind schedule, you want to be able to advance that, right? That's the output is still important, but the outcome is more important, right? The Pulse of the Profession from PMI puts out this study every year. Going back over a decade, our project success rates are in the 55-60% range. We've had a couple of years of increase the past few years. I think that's because we've gone results-based with COVID and making people work remote, actually. But at 55 to 60% success rates on a project, I don't accept that in my industry. That's horrible. What if every car that gets manufactured was done at 55% success rate? Automobile manufacturing companies would be out of business, right? So as an industry, if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, nothing changes if nothing changes. We have to start looking at ways that we can perform better, that we can measure better, that we can be improving as an industry. Another good example is for all of us, this is a global event. World Cup is about to start. All of these great nations are coming forward with their football/soccer teams to compete, and somebody's trying to be the winner. They're measuring who wins, right? It's important to practice and to know how to be a goalie and to be a midfielder and to be able to strike the ball properly and train and be able to run faster, but they're not going to measure who had the best culture on their team. They're not going to measure who was the fastest athlete on the field. The end of the game is the output, is the result, the score, and the standings, and the winner of the World Cup. In project management, again, culture is important, process is important, outputs are important, but we have to start measuring victories, right? We have to start measuring, did we provide the business value, like Dr. Kersner said, to the organization, so that we can say projects are important, that we're part of the organization, just like operations, that we're part of the same entity working towards the same goals. So for me, that's why I always say outcomes over outputs, and use our historical data to say, we're not doing as good as we need to be in project space. We have to perform better.
Oh, thank you. When you mentioned 55% is not good enough, it brought some very strong memory of when I was at school, and one of my operation management professor, we talk about that. Well, I want to do this, and then, well, 97% rate is good enough, and then he asked the same question, but he said, would you be happy if your heart is functioning at 97%, right? And it is, right? With the numbers that we have been looking, we are so entrenched in such a way that, industry standards say 55% success rate is good. So heck, if I do 60 or 75, I'm knocking it out of the woods, right? But it is not, as you pointed out, is that, that there is a value that we need to be delivering, and that is a much more important measure, and those are the ones that we have to almost try to hit 100% of the time, right? So yeah, thank you very much. Anyone else would like to add to this interesting topic here?
Yes, let me take a go at the results, and to say that it may instances, we as project managers have to also open our eyes to unintended results, which are successes. Sometimes we get caught up in our matrices of success that we don't look outside to see what are the other results that has come as a result of the project that we have done, which are also successes, but could be in a different light. And so opening up our eyes to that helps us be able to, as Joe said, pick up on our victories and not just on all the other things that we're doing. So let's say you're working in a community to help girls to go to school. I'm working in a community now where we are helping them to build much more cost-intensive pots for cooking. Now, because they do it so well, the girls are learning it. The other communities around them are coming to marry the ladies. And that is an unintended consequence. Of course, we are counting the number of pots we have done in line with climate change, in line with desertification in the north of Ghana. But at the end of the day, there are unintended consequences that our girls are having better lives because they are able to move outside their communities. And as project managers, we need to be able to look at that because that is where the sustainability also comes in. Over to you.
All right. Thank you. So, I think we're almost out of time, but I have one more question, sis. So this discussion here all day, how does this mean to a business strategy as a whole? What do you think, Fernando?
I think I mentioned this before, but when you're trying to focus on outcomes, and if you get to this idea of impact as a broader understanding, you are moving towards strategy. So I think it's a two-way thing. Like I was listening to what you were saying before, you that if the results of project success rates are around 60% and I do 62 or 65, then it's great. This is something that sometimes happens, sadly, with education, which we call here in Brazil. I don't know if this is a worldwide thing, the pact of mediocrity. So you just come to this deal where, well, I'll do this and this is good enough, and then you pretend that you are satisfied with what I do, and we are both happy being mediocre. So it's not good, and we have to challenge ourselves to be better. And I think this whole idea of having a panel discussion like this one is we are trying to put ourselves in a way to learn more and be better. So moving on this direction to strategy is very important. And also, it is very important for the strategic part of companies, the C-level, and I think Brightline does a brilliant job on that, to also understand how they need to be closer to the project level, to the middle management and to the operations, because that is through that you can be better and you can realize your strategy. So I think it's a mutual work of going towards one another. And this for me is what I think is what we are trying to do right now. And we have to be better so that we don't continue having numbers that if are not mediocre, they are not changing too much. They are stabilized in this rate. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I really do like when you mentioned that, sometimes when you are measuring against the benchmark, we are on a path to mediocrity, and this resonates really well. And as just at the risk of adding my point of view, you reminded me of a story of one of the guy Kobayashi. He was in the hot dog eating contest, and in the past, before Kobayashi, people were eating just a certain amount, and then you just did all you need to win. And I think Kobayashi, when he started the hot dog eating contest in New York at the time, he basically, when he practiced, he blew all the competition out of the water because he almost doubled the winning number, right? Because if we just think that if I'm just 10% better than the industry standard, I'm really good. But instead of measuring to this so-called benchmark, right? We actually basically end up creating a new benchmark that people are shooting for. Sorry, I can't stop myself because every time I hear people mention something interesting, I'm like, oh yeah, this is an interesting story about this one. All right. Anyone else would like to comment as how does impact business strategy as a whole? All about the hot topic.
Maybe just a side note here, I think to the point what Joe mentioned and also Fernando, I think also to think about the KPIs, right? A lot of this organization culture about KPIs, and then I have done my KPI as my department, and then we don't know what's the outcome, right? Because I achieve my KPI and it's green, right? So that's something also relates to what what Joe mentioned, that how we can ensure that all these KPIs are interlinked and they're producing the outcome or the value to a level, or to Janani point, the impact, how they are generating, right? Because if it's not connecting, then it's not working, right? And everyone can be green, by the way, because everyone has achieved their KPIs, but things are not moving as intended for. So that would be my last comment.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Taiko, you will have something to,
Yeah. So if you do things the same way and you expect to get different results, it's not happening. And I think that's the difference between transformational change and incremental change. And so project managers should look at doing things such as, Vikram said something about focusing on the planning. Planning is key, doing things so differently that you get transformational change, as opposed to incremental change, which is the 5%, 10%, and we are still working around 60% for project success. We need to do things differently. We need to go beyond. We need to test new things. I like this agile methodology, which is telling you to try out new things, to see how you can push yourselves, include your stakeholders, find a new way of doing things. And generally, I like the conversation that you had, about people and making that work. And I think if we do that more and more, we are going to get transformational change, which helps in not just the project outcome, but the impact level, because we need to focus on the impact level. So those would be my final words. Thank you very much, and over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And Janani, any final words?
So amazing insights. So if your vision of a company is like an island that you want to go, and your journey is the strategy towards that, right? The strategy is the journey. And I feel the outcomes are like your North Star, because it gives you a sense of direction. So you can keep on asking lots of questions, because it's not only to measure outcomes. Moment you see the outcomes, you do ask lots of questions, powerful questions. That's why the honesty is important, and you ask questions, and are you ready to pivot? So I feel the outcomes is like your true north, will give you the sense of direction to get there. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Love the true north comment here, because it's kind of like allow us to really focus on what is truly the most important one. And we're almost out of time, but Joe, do you have any final words?
Just one last quick comment. Thanks for having me be part of this, and so honored to get all the inputs from all the other panelists as well. And I would just say, you had asked a question a while ago, about when the project ends, so how do we get the benefit realization as part of that? And it ties back into my comment that projects needs to be part of operations, right? The project isn't just to finish when the project ends, right? The stop date of the project just means it's the start date of getting the benefit. So if the project and the operations work in concert, that's how we achieve the value that we were looking for. So for me, all of this comes together of outputs produce the outcome. To get to the intent that Teiko was talking about, you have to have it has to live on, right? It can't stop when the project concludes. So again, thank you for allowing me to be part of this, and such great insights from everybody on the panel. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And love the final word that output produces the outcome. So hey, looks like we are finally in the same camp again, huh? Thank you very much. And well, thank you everybody. Thank you for listening to us yapping around. And let me get this back to Priya.
Yeah, thank you, Yoda. And yes, that was a wonderful discussion. Output versus outcome is always a case of contention. And I also truly believe output leads to outcome. So, yes, let us see what our outro champion has captured today. So, over to you, Ayanda, if you can tell us what we have learned today in this discussion. Are you speaking on mute? We don't see you. Okay, she's muted. Ayanda, you are muted.
Yes, I'm trying to also switch on my video.
Okay, there you are. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Priya. I just had I just want to share my notes quickly.
Or you can just send it to me and you can kind of talk about it. Okay, there you go. We can see your screen now. Oh, wow, you made this on the fly? Oh, man. Yeah.
This is the next level thing that that you did.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so I've captured everyone in when they were talking, and it was really a very insightful conversation for me as well. And I think I need to do something on my PC. It's just got stuck. I don't know what you see. What do you see?
So we see a slide with the key points, which is
With the
good.
panel.
Yes, we see that. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, it's stuck. My computer is stuck now, so it doesn't want to go to the next
No problem. Let's
There
there
you
we
go.
can see that. Yes. Oh wow, Exchange. Yes, we see it.
All right. So I went with Xchange, and because this is the last PMI Xchange chapter program, and I went to the Xchange. We go back to the roots. We go back to the foundation on why we started this, and so number E, I said empower. To empower ourselves, one of the panelists, they did mention that we need to empower ourselves as project managers and to become part of the operation of the organization. And also the timing of us having to be within the organization and part of the strategy. Project managers' growth in the near future must also focus on providing project managers with the confidence to make those decisions to be part of that strategy. This is often the more difficult aspect of empowerment. So project managers won't be willing to take the risks to be involved in driving critical business decisions unless they believe that they're going to be supported in those decisions at all times. And then the X is Xchange, which brings us back to co-building. So everything that's done in pursuit of increasing cohesion and collaborative productivity. And then I went to say the output, the outcome, and impact. So I think we must also add impact for next year. And then C stands for communicate. We need to communicate your vision to your team to ensure you meet your mission. The goal is to create a team where team members not only share expectations of accomplishing group tasks, but trust and support one another. And respect was also mentioned, one another's individual differences. And then for the age, and then I went for human and culture. Culture doesn't go without human. So culture eats strategy for breakfast. I liked that. And we need to address our assumptions. No matter how well designed your strategic plan is, it will fall flat unless your team shares the appropriate culture. So at the end of the day, the people who implement the plan, they matter. And then A stands for adapt. So adapt to uncertain environments. Have courage to pivot. Clear sense of prioritization. We need to create value and intent. And N stands for not the how, but the why. Communicate from the inside out rather than the outside in. Instead of telling people what or how you do it, tell them why you do it. Start with why it enables a broader perspective and provides the opportunity to rise above the competition or even yourself. And the goals One of the panelists mentioned the sustainability. So if you look at the sustainability goals, we all share them. We all want to meet them as projects and as project managers. You also need to look for people who would be driving towards the same goal and vision. The goals is setting a critical part of preparing for personal change or accomplishing a project objective. So well-written goals provide motivation, focus, attention, serve as a basis of managing performance and evaluating change. And then E is engage. How to improve the outcome is to plan, look at the level of engage. Okay, so the question was, when I said engage, the question was, how do we improve the outcome? So one of the panelists says is to plan properly, look at the level of engagement of stakeholders, and we must be able to manage your risks. And transformational change was mentioned, completely to reshape your business strategy and processes, often resulting in a shift in work culture. That's my
Wow,
notes.
thank you very
Thank you.
much. This is one of the greatest summary I've ever seen. So thank you, Ayanda.
Thank you, Ayanda. And now I know why you are a future 50 honorary, Ayanda. Well done. Awesome. Great job. So, Sunil, I think now it's time to go back to our quiz again. We have resolved our tech issues finally. And we have 9 minutes to go before we complete the event of the day. Sunil, are you able to? Okay. All right. So the quiz details are on the chat, in the chat window. Please join the quiz. And the winner stands a chance to win our book.
An
So
actual
if you
hard
have joined
copy book.
with the Mentimeter code, Priya, can you give the code again? I guess.
Okay, we missed it. Okay.
It's
So
in the
we
chat.
have
It's in the chat.
55 people joining, so we'll wait a bit for a few seconds to everyone to join.
Yeah, now 60. We still have 420 folks on the call.
Yeah, at least we
Yeah.
should have more than 100.
Yeah. But only one
Wow,
book
look
to
at
win.
it. That is nice.
80. Okay, great. Amazing. Woo.
90, 92, 93. Yeah, we have 95.
Ah, those are nice
So,
avatars.
so how many minutes we're gonna, like, not minutes, like seconds we're gonna wait?
Let's wait for a few seconds. People are joining. We have 420 folks in the meeting still. Thanks for staying with us.
So everyone actually want a book of the great chapter inside we have. Yeah. So all are pretty excited. We have 136. Wow.
And growing.
Yeah. I'm so tempted to press the enter button, but let's wait a bit. Just remember, you have to have the fastest finger as well. So you just have to provide the right answer. Also have to provide it very fast. Because the right answer with the fastest finger wins the Mentimeter quiz today. 145. Okay. That's a very
We're
good
measuring
answer.
the outcome, the fastest finger with the right answer.
Yeah, the right answer.
Ah, look at that. Way to tie it in, Joe.
Oh, so I think we should wait 5 more seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So Priya, should we start? We have 150 almost.
Yeah, you should because you're low on battery also.
Yeah, so 151. I guess 150 is the constant number we are having, so I think we should start. Anita, all good?
Yes.
Oh. So the first question. Look at your screen, look at your screen. It's in the phone or in the PC. Just look at the screen. You have 20 seconds to answer. It's already gone 10 seconds. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time is up.
Yeah. So
And
the right answer is 2020. Yeah. So Anita, when and why
yes,
the chapter exchange was decided?
yes, exactly. It was 2020. It was the pandemic that triggered this initiative. Like they say, every cloud has the silver lining, and for us, PMI Chapter Exchange was the silver lining in the pandemic. As the entire world went into the lockdown by imposing restrictions of the borders, it was the group of chapter leaders who came together and build this amazing community that works without borders across continents, cultures, and countries. So 2020 it was.
Yeah. So we took actually the right moment to launch this thing. Yeah. So wow. So can we see the leaderboard? Who is leading? So Aman, you have the fastest answer with the right answer. So you're leading right now. So keep up the pace. So let's go to our next question. So let's see who gives the fastest answer. So how many chapters are part of this initiative? That's a pretty easy answer, right?
If you listened carefully in the beginning,
Also to our polls that we have been giving. Also, there are more hints here. There you go. The time's up.
okay, well done to all who said 23. Indeed, we have 23 chapters currently involved into our initiative, and we are aiming higher, aren't we, Priya?
Yeah, so we have also some supporting chapters with us. So thanks to all the chapters who are providing the great support for this initiative. So let's see who is now leading to the leaderboard. Wow, we can see the new leader here. So things can change. So you should actually look out the output to get the better outcome that we have shared. So now you see like the leaderboard has changed already. Cool. So here comes the last question. That's a nice cover. Thank you so much, Yuta. Looks
You're
really
welcome.
nice. So here comes only 8 seconds, 7 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the right answer. So what is
Yes,
the exchange effect, Anita?
this is the phenomenon where diverse communication connections lead to innovative solutions. So congratulations to all of you who chose the option first.
Perfect. So let's see who is our final winner who will be getting the book. Salil,
Alright.
hooray. So
Yes.
congratulations, Salil. So we would like your email address to please provide in your chat your email address right away to get the free copy of this interesting book. So
Yeah,
thank you so
so
much
Salil,
everyone who has participated here.
once we get your email address, we'll send you email and ask for your physical address, and so that we can actually mail this book to you.
Perfect.
Okay, I can see already
Congratulations,
the email. Mhm.
So
Okay,
please
Anita,
provide your email address to us so that we can track out of these 400 people already. So provide your email address. So we have a winner. So that's a great ending to the chapter exchange event for us. So Anita, anything you would like to add?
Thank you so much for all who participated. I hope that it was great fun and you also learned something new about our initiative. So over to Priya now, I suppose.
Yes,
Close.
finally it is back to me. And everyone, great job. And you did a great job in summarizing the entire discussion. You please, people, do take the feedback. The link is in the chat window. And please share the topics that you would like to hear from us next year, because this is the last event of the year. We will be back in 2023 February again. And a heartfelt thanks to everyone who has supported our initiative. And thank you for giving your time and attention today. And as we said, we'll be back again in 2023. Happy holidays, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank
You all.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.